Hey guys, I want to give you a few quick tips about the new and improved project that you're working on as I struggle to talk. So here you'll see that the file is on our Canvas page. I have had a few questions from people trying to sort through what is expected in this project. It says project, but I really would like for you to think of it more as it's almost like a homework in its format. So while the old project had the intent to produce a work at the end that was a comprehensive sort of paper outlining your research topic and idea for a business proposal, which city you were using, and how all of the information would come together with some actual statistical analysis. It seems, based on a lot of angles of feedback that I've had this semester, that it was not going according to my hopes. This has been a project that's worked before, but every class and every group and every semester and every day and every year is different. And so the course corrections that I've made are made with the intent to help guide you with the actual statistical knowledge that you are receiving this semester. And so it should help you actually apply that knowledge in an effective manner. And now I know that it might feel as more work, or that all the work that you did was hopelessly lost. And that's not the case. If you've been doing the appropriate statistical type of outlook already on a project coming to this point, then this project, the new and improved one, will be super simple and straightforward to complete. If you haven't been performing appropriate statistical analysis to this point, you may find some challenges in this homework, but that's where the learning is. So that's where you will be able to see how you're supposed to do this and actually apply it and walk you through. This is where each of the steps in this new project will really one by one outline everything that is expected of you. So the part zero is simply grabbing the data, and this I have for you laid out in Canvas. Most of you will probably be using Excel. I don't recommend Google Sheets. The codes will be slightly different, and most of the things in industry still will have you using Excel as you progress through a business program. So I would recommend Excel. If you are more comfortable with command line prompt and you've been doing some work in R, the free program, you may continue to do so for this assignment. If you haven't picked up R, I do not recommend doing that for this right now. It's a whole different ball game. So just stick with Excel. Here in part one, we'll examine the data. And the idea here is that you will be answering the specific questions as we go. So specifically, there are right and wrong answers to very many of these questions. Some are slightly more open, and you'll see that as you kind of progress. That is how I will be grading you on this project. This is an individual project, so you are no longer assigned to groups. This is everybody on their own to complete this project. You may still talk to each other if you've built some good relationships, and absolutely you may reach out to me. I've had several of you contact me or come by, and I think each time has turned out to be very clarifying and helpful, and I'm finding generally very positive feedback from this assignment. So give it a try. Here, if you're looking at this spot, how many variables are contained in the data set? Well, if we look at our data set, this is supposed to show you right here. I would want you to identify how many data variables are included. And so this is a very yes or no correct answer. And this is getting you to identify what they are and listing them out in this space. And if you need to create your answers in the doc format, I have that uploaded. If you need to create your answers in a separate document altogether and upload it, that is okay. Just make sure you number it correctly. Part one, part one, number two, etc. Which variables are categorical, quantitative, and how do you know? Could any variable be both? You need to outline that for me and explain it. Provide relevant information. So here you need to tell me information that's important. This we saw very early on in the semester. When we saw any particular variable, think about it. If it's categorical, what are the things you should tell me? If it's quantitative, what are the things you should tell me? And outline it here. So it might be somewhat tedious in terms of the length, but it should not be tedious or time consumptive in terms of providing an answer for these. For question 3, what commands were you using in Excel to do this? So here I simply want you to tell me if you used a countif, if you used min, max, what exactly formulas were you using? You can consolidate this a little bit and say for categorical I did this, and for quantitative this is what I did in terms of what commands did you type. That's okay. Are there any issues with the data? So here, this is where you are physically going to examine the data. And yes, there's a lot of data, but this is part of doing statistical analysis. You have to click in and examine. So some of the things that you could note, You could see if things look like they're missing or not as you would expect. Is there anything odd? This is not a part that you should be spending an inordinate amount of time on, but it is something that you should scan through the document and have a basic idea of what is there and what isn't there, and make sure to notate some of those examples. If there was something particularly interesting that you saw, you notate it here. The heart of the business question is here in 7 is helping to identify really what is relevant from this data set to a business question. Now, you may have slightly different business questions, each of you, but there are going to be certain variables that will not be relevant at all to anyone, and there will be some that will be relevant to most, if not all, business questions or business-related questions. So I want you to really separate that out for me here. Part 2 is where the fun kicks in. So here we get to visualize some of our data. I want you to only select 3 that you think are the most relevant variables. You will then be performing the work on those 3. So make sure you think about ones that are relevant and useful and informative to a business question. If you are creating graphs, if you're creating tables, make sure that you're appropriately labeling them. You can cut and paste what you've done in Excel and insert it into your final answer document. What commands are you using to do these visualizations? That's what you need to tell me again. What did you type into Excel? So for example, I'll do a quick one for you. If you are trying to create a bar chart, it's late at night. It's been a long week already. If you're trying to do a bar chart for a categorical variable, you'll find that it's a little bit tricky in Excel unless you set up something first. So we could look, for example, right here at property types, and that could be the one variable of interest we could look at. And you can see as you scroll through, there are a bunch of different property types listed in here, very many apartments, I see. But this list is very, very, very long. I'm still scrolling, still going, not at the bottom. Still going. Okay, seriously. Oh, no, gotta go much faster than that. All right, overshot it. Go back. I don't know how it could allow me to overshoot that much. No, there we go. All right, so property type. What you might want to do here is create yourself a frequency table. So you would want to always list everything out so that you understand and don't lose track of what you're doing. Property type. And over on this side, I might want to do count. I'm going to count the number of certain types of property types. So for example, apartment. I want to know how many apartments. I want to know how many houses. I think I saw a boat in there. That sounds interesting. And so once I do this, I want to try and do this for every possible variable that there could be. Then I want to count them. And so in Excel, the way you do this is to type in the Countif function, which we've seen. You go =, count, if, literally the word. Now you need to select the range for the data. So the data that I'm looking at is housed here under column I. So I'm going to say I1 and then colon through I. Looks like we have 12,579 rows of information. Once you do that, you'll place a comma. And then what is the criteria that it's trying to look for? In this range of data, what is it trying to look for and count the number of occurrences? For this one, I wanted to find the number of apartments, so I'm going to open quotes and type apartment, close quote, close parentheses. Now it's incredibly important when you do this that you spell it correctly and you type everything exactly as you're trying to find it, because it will give you an incorrect answer if you don't. So hit enter. There were 10,241 apartments in this variable set. Right, so spaces also matter. If you accidentally type the same exact thing right here, if I said Countif I1 through I12 579, comma, apartment, space, comma, close, and hit enter, there's absolutely none. So it is very important that when you type this in, everything within the quotes has to be exactly like what you're trying to tell Excel to find, and then it can find it. So I'll just take that off there. You want to now do this for every sort of iteration that there is. So we could say here equal Countif I1 through I12 579, comma, house. I think house was the one that I was doing there. There were 1,200 houses in that data set. And now you want to do this all the way throughout. I actually might want to change count to saying frequency, because that's a fancier way of counting what's happening. Once you're done with this, then after you found all of the various types of categories this could be, you would highlight them all, and you can go in through Excel and go over to create a bar chart. So your version might have things in slightly different spots, but this is how you could do it. And you could take a screenshot of this and submit it into your assignment. You could take a screenshot of the bar chart and submit it into your assignment with an appropriate sentence describing what it is that you did, and that would be full credit. Now make sure that you're doing this appropriately for the appropriate 3 variables that you have to analyze. And if you get stuck and have questions, I'm here for you via email. I can create videos or do a video conference with you or meet with you in person so that you can walk through each of these. Just make sure, again, you're completing each section of this new and improved project. In the third part, we're talking about the report itself. And so here we're going to open it up to the broader context. You've done analysis of your descriptive sort of your data so far. Now I want you to think, what would be good business questions specifically for Scotland data, the data that you are looking at? And then when you do that, which of these variables now for your very specific question, and this is where you will each have different questions that you're asking, this is now you want to find which of these variables are most relevant to you. Are all of them? Are only some of them? What other sources do you need to look for? So this is where you can reach back to, if you had done a lot of work on the other project, you can start pulling, well, what other areas did you look for resources? You can now think of the same idea for the Scotland data set and include your information here. And then I'd like you to reflect upon what you did in the original project if you had done very much. And I would like you to reflect upon and think about how that is similar and how it's different to what you've been able to accomplish throughout this project set. So this is more a mix of self-reflection and then also really trying to have some critical thinking about comparing the similarities and differences between the two in terms of the broader statistical and business situation concepts. I hope you've been able to find this helpful and informative. Please do email if you have any questions. Please know that this decision to switch things on you was definitely not taken lightly or made lightly in any way, shape, or form. It was simply driven from a concern of ensuring that the proper information is being conveyed and that the proper avenue for you to express what you have learned is being given to you so that you can show successfully your mastery in this course. Again, any questions, email me anytime. We're in the home run stretch. You've hung in for a really good, tough, long semester. Hang in for a little bit longer, put on the push, and do well. Hope you found this video fun and informative, and good luck.